Everything can change today if you turn back to God. Stop scrolling. This is not a coincidence. This is not just another video. If you are watching this right now, something inside you already knows. You've been running from peace, running from conviction, running from that quiet voice that keeps whispering your name in the dark. You tried to fill the emptiness with distractions. You tried to silence the anxiety with noise. You tried to replace purpose with pleasure, but it didn't work, because the void you feel is not weakness. It's separation, and the separation is not punishment. It's distance from the one who created you. Listen carefully. Everything can change today. Not next week, not next year. Today, your mindset can change. Your direction can change. Your relationships can change. Your peace can return. Your future can be rewritten, but only if you turn back. Not halfway, not emotionally, not temporarily, completely. You don't need a perfect past. You don't need a flawless record. You don't need to clean yourself up before coming back. You just need surrender. Because the moment you turn back to God, heaven moves. Chains begin to weaken. Confusion starts clearing. And doors you thought were permanently closed begin to unlock. This is your wake-up call. This is your divine interruption. This is your moment. Stay with me until the end. Because what you're about to hear may be the turning point your soul has been waiting for. Now listen. You were never too far. You think you've gone too far. Too many mistakes. Too many sins. Too many nights you ignored the voice of conviction. But let me tell you something powerful. There is no distance too great for God's mercy. You may have walked away, but He never stopped watching. You may have stopped praying, but He never stopped protecting. Think about that. There were moments you should have lost everything, but you didn't. Moments you should have broken completely, but somehow you survived. Moments you were one decision away from disaster, yet something held you back. That wasn't luck. That wasn't coincidence. That was grace. You see, turning back to God doesn't start with perfection. It starts with awareness, and awareness is happening right now. The guilt you feel, that's not condemnation. That's conviction. The restlessness in your spirit, that's not anxiety. That's invitation. God is not waiting to shame you. He is waiting to restore you. But restoration requires humility. You must admit you can't do this alone. You must admit your way isn't working. You must admit that success without peace is failure in disguise. The world told you independence is power, but true power is surrender. When you turn back, something supernatural happens. Your past loses its authority. Your shame loses its voice. Your fear loses its control. Because when you come back to God, you are not crawling back as a slave. You are returning as a child. And children are welcomed home. Today can be that day. Not tomorrow. Not one day. Today. What happens the moment you turn back? The enemy wants you to believe nothing will change. That you'll always struggle. That you'll always be stuck. That your habits are permanent. But that is a lie. The moment you turn back to God, the spiritual atmosphere shifts. You may not see lightning. You may not hear thunder. But something begins moving behind the scenes. Alignment begins. Your mind starts clearing. Your desires begin shifting. Your appetite for sin weakens. Your hunger for truth strengthens. Why? Because proximity changes everything. When you step toward light, darkness loses power. You don't have to fix yourself first. You just have to face Him. And here's the truth most people don't understand. God is not intimidated by your mess. He is not shocked by your failure. He already knew every mistake you would make before you made it. Yet He still chose you. That means your fall did not cancel your calling. Your weakness did not erase your purpose. Your delay did not destroy your destiny, but staying away will. Every day you delay returning is a day you delay peace. Every day you resist surrender is a day you prolong confusion. Imagine what would happen if today you truly meant it. Not an emotional moment, not a temporary promise, but a real decision. I'm done running. I'm done pretending. I'm done living half-committed. That single decision can redirect your entire life. Because when you turn back to God, you don't just change direction. You change identity. And identity determines destiny. This is not about religion. This is about relationship. This is not about rules. This is about return. And everything, absolutely everything, can begin changing today. If you turn back, the battle you don't see, the moment you even consider turning back to God, resistance rises. Distractions multiply. Old temptations resurface. Doubts grow louder. Why? Because there is a battle happening that you cannot see. Your destiny has weight. Your calling has impact. And the enemy does not fight what is insignificant. If you feel attacked, confused, or unusually pressured lately, it may be because you are close to breakthrough. Understand this clearly. The struggle you feel is not proof that God has left you. It is proof that your return matters. There are habits that want to keep you. There are environments that want to own you. There are mindsets that want to trap you. But none of them have permanent authority unless you agree with them. Turning back to God is not just an emotional prayer. It is a declaration of war against everything that kept you bound. You will feel resistance. You will feel internal conflict. You will feel moments of weakness. But weakness does not cancel transformation. Transformation begins the moment you decide who you belong to. You are not your addiction. You are not your past. You are not your worst mistake. Those are chapters. They're not your identity. The enemy whispers, "You'll fall again." God whispers, "Stand again." The enemy says, "You're too dirty." God says, "You're still mine." The enemy says, "It's too late." God says, "It's not over." And here's the truth that changes everything. The same energy you used to run from God can be used to run toward Him. The same passion you used to chase the world can be redirected toward purpose. The same intensity you used in rebellion can become intensity in obedience. Nothing is wasted when you return. Your pain becomes wisdom. Your scars become testimony. Your failures become lessons that strengthen your future. The battle may intensify when you turn back, but battles only happen when something valuable is at stake. And your soul is valuable. Stay steady. Stay committed. Stay surrendered. Because what is waiting on the other side of obedience is greater than anything you left behind. Why you feel empty without Him. Let's talk about the emptiness. That silent ache, that restless feeling, that strange dissatisfaction even when things seem fine. You tried achievements. You tried relationships. You tried money, attention, entertainment, validation. And maybe for a moment it felt good. But it didn't last. Because you were not created to be sustained by temporary things. You were created for connection with your Creator. When that connection weakens, something inside you begins to dry out. You can smile publicly and still feel hollow privately. You can succeed outwardly and still feel lost inwardly. That emptiness is not random. It is a signal. Just like hunger tells your body it needs food, emptiness tells your spirit it needs God. But instead of feeding the spirit, most people try to distract it. More scrolling, more noise, more stimulation, more temporary highs. Yet the quiet returns, because your soul recognizes what your mind tries to ignore. You were designed with purpose. You were designed with spiritual depth. You were designed to walk aligned with heaven. And nothing on earth can permanently replace that. When you turn back to God, the emptiness doesn't magically disappear in 1 second, but it begins to fill. Peace starts flowing where anxiety used to dominate. Clarity starts forming where confusion once ruled. Strength begins replacing weakness. It's subtle at first, but consistency grows it. Prayer reconnects you. Obedience strengthens you. Worship softens you. And slowly, the void that once controlled you loses its power. You realize something powerful. You weren't broken. You were disconnected. And reconnection changes everything. The decision that rewrites your future. There are moments in life that split your story into 2 parts, before and after. This can be one of those moments, not because of emotion, not because of hype, but because of decision. Your future is not shaped by feelings. It is shaped by choices. And one sincere decision to turn back to God can redirect years of wandering. Imagine yourself 1 year from now if you truly commit today. Different habits, different priorities, different peace, different strength. Now imagine 1 year from now if nothing changes. Same cycles, same struggles, same frustration. The difference between those 2 futures is not talent. It is not luck. It is not opportunity. It is surrender. When you choose God daily, your path begins adjusting. Wrong doors close, right connections form, wisdom increases, discernment sharpens. You start recognizing what drains you and what builds you. You stop entertaining what once enslaved you. And the best part, you don't walk alone anymore. Divine guidance replaces guesswork. Purpose replaces confusion. Direction replaces wandering. The world may not immediately see the change, but you will feel it. A new boldness, a new confidence, a new inner stability, because you are no longer trying to carry life by yourself. Turning back to God is not losing freedom. It is gaining alignment. It is stepping into the version of you that was always meant to exist. And that version is stronger than you think. Today can mark the turning point. The question is not whether change is possible. The question is whether you are ready to choose it. If you are, then this is only the beginning. Letting go of what is pulling you down. You cannot step fully into a new direction while still gripping the old one. Turning back to God is not only about saying yes to Him, it is also about saying no to what has been draining you. Some habits feel small. Some compromises feel harmless. Some relationships feel impossible to release. But ask yourself honestly, are they pushing you closer to peace or pulling you deeper into chaos? Not everything that feels good is good for you. Not everyone who supports your comfort supports your calling. Growth requires separation. There are environments that feed your flesh but starve your spirit. There are conversations that normalize what God is trying to remove from your life. There are patterns you repeat not because you want to, but because they are familiar. Familiar does not mean healthy. Sometimes the reason you feel spiritually stuck is because you are trying to move forward while still entertaining what keeps you bound. God will not force you to release it, but He will wait for you to trust Him enough to let it go. And yes, it may hurt. Yes, it may feel lonely at first. Yes, you may feel misunderstood. But obedience always costs something before it rewards you. When you let go of what pulls you down, you create space for what lifts you up. Space for clarity. Space for discipline. Space for healthier relationships. Space for spiritual strength. You were not created to live divided, half in obedience, half in compromise. The tension you feel inside is the result of that division. But the moment you choose alignment, peace begins replacing pressure. You don't need to fix everything overnight. Start small. Delete what tempts you. Distance yourself from what weakens you. Silence what corrupts your focus. Every small act of obedience strengthens your spiritual muscles. And the more you strengthen them, the easier it becomes to walk away from what once controlled you. Letting go is not loss. It is preparation. Because what God wants to give you cannot fit in hands that are still holding on to the past. Release it, trust Him, and watch what begins to shift. When you feel unworthy to return, there is one lie that stops more people from turning back to God than anything else. I'm not worthy. You replay your mistakes. You remember your hypocrisy. You think about the times you promised to change and didn't. And shame whispers, why would God want you back? But listen carefully. God's love was never based on your performance. If you had to earn His mercy, none of us would qualify. You think your failure surprised Him. You think your weakness caught Him off guard. He knew. He saw every wrong turn before you took it, and He still allowed you breath in your lungs today. That means something. Shame pushes you away. Grace pulls you closer. Shame says, "No, hide." Grace says, "Come." The enemy wants you isolated, because isolation keeps you silent, and silence keeps you stagnant. But God calls you out of hiding, not to expose you, not to humiliate you, but to heal you. Healing only begins when honesty enters the room. You don't have to impress God. You don't have to pretend strength. You can come broken. You can come confused. You can come unsure. Just come real, because real surrender is more powerful than perfect words. You may feel unworthy, but worthiness was settled long before this moment. You were created intentionally. You were loved before you performed. You were chosen before you achieved anything, and nothing you did erased that. The fact that your heart is stirring right now is proof that grace is still working on you. Do not let shame silence your return. God is not standing with folded arms. He is waiting with open ones. Step toward him and watch how quickly the weight of guilt begins to lift. How daily surrender changes everything. Turning back to God is not a one-time emotional experience. It is a daily decision. Not dramatic, not always loud, but consistent. Every morning you choose alignment. Every afternoon you choose integrity. Every night you choose gratitude. Daily surrender reshapes you slowly but powerfully. You begin thinking differently, reacting differently, choosing differently. What once triggered you now teaches you. What once tempted you now weakens. What once controlled you now loses authority. Because daily connection builds spiritual strength. Think about physical training. One workout doesn't transform your body, but consistent training over time changes everything. The same applies spiritually. One prayer won't fix everything, but daily prayer will reshape your inner world. One moment of worship won't erase all anxiety, but consistent worship will anchor your heart. One act of obedience won't instantly perfect you, but repeated obedience will transform your character. This is how everything begins to change. Not through hype, not through emotion, but through commitment. When you wake up and say, God, guide my steps today. When you pause before reacting and choose wisdom instead of impulse. When you close doors that once tempted you. When you forgive even when it's hard. Those moments compound. And over time you realize something powerful. You are no longer the same person. Your confidence grows, not arrogance but stability. Your peace deepens, not denial but trust. Your direction strengthens, not pressure but clarity. Daily surrender removes chaos and replaces it with order. And order invites blessing. Everything doesn't change because life becomes perfect. Everything changes because you become aligned. And alignment shifts outcomes. This is not about being religious. It is about being intentional. Turn back today. Stay consistent tomorrow. And watch how slowly, steadily, undeniably, everything begins to change. The doors God closes for your protection. When you turn back to God, something unexpected begins to happen. Not every door opens. In fact, some doors close. Opportunities disappear. Certain people drift away. Plans you were sure about suddenly fall apart. And at first it feels confusing. You pray for change, and things start shifting in ways you didn't expect. But understand this clearly. Not every closed door is rejection. Some closed doors are protection. There are places you were about to walk into that would have drained your peace. There are relationships that looked exciting but carried hidden destruction. There are opportunities that seemed profitable but would have cost you your purpose. When you return to God, alignment begins correcting your direction. And correction doesn't always feel comfortable. Sometimes God removes before he replaces. Sometimes he subtracts before he multiplies, because he sees what you cannot see. You focus on the moment. He focuses on your destiny. You focus on emotion. He focuses on outcome. Trust is tested when something you wanted doesn't work out. But what if that disappointment was deliverance? What if that rejection was redirection? What if that loss was actually a rescue? When you turn back to God, you begin to understand that not everything that leaves you is meant to hurt you. Some things leave to make room. Room for healthier connections. Room for clearer thinking. Room for stronger discipline. Room for deeper peace. The pain of a closed door lasts for a moment, but the destruction of walking through the wrong door can last for years. So when things shift, don't panic. Pray. When something ends, don't assume abandonment. Trust. Because when you are aligned with God, even the detours serve a purpose. Even the delays prepare you. Even the endings refine you. Closed doors are not proof that God is absent. They are proof that he is actively guiding you. And guidance is protection in disguise. The peace that doesn't make sense. There is a kind of peace the world talks about. Peace that comes from comfort. Peace that comes from money. Peace that comes from control. But that peace disappears the moment circumstances change. Then there is a deeper peace. A peace that remains even when life is uncertain. A peace that steadies you in chaos. A peace that anchors you when storms rise. This peace only comes through alignment with God. When you turn back to Him, something inside you stabilizes. Problems may still exist. Bills may still need to be paid. People may still misunderstand you. But internally, you are not shaken the same way. Why? Because peace is not the absence of problems. It is the presence of trust. When you know you are not walking alone, fear loses some of its power. Anxiety tries to speak, but faith answers. Doubt tries to rise, but surrender quiets it. You stop trying to control every outcome. You begin focusing on obedience instead of results. And that shift changes everything. You sleep better. You think clearer. You react slower. Because your foundation is no longer built on circumstances. It is built on trust. This kind of peace confuses people. They see your calm during pressure. They see your steadiness during uncertainty. They see your hope during setbacks. And they wonder how. It's not because you are stronger than them. It's because you are supported by something greater than yourself. Turning back to God doesn't remove storms. It gives you an anchor inside them. And when you are anchored, you don't drift. You endure. You grow. You rise. And that peace becomes evidence that everything truly is changing. From the inside out. Your story is not finished. Right now you might feel behind. Behind in life. Behind in success. Behind in purpose. You look at others and think you wasted too much time. But let me tell you something powerful. Delay is not denial. Your story's not finished because you stumbled. It is not over because you wandered. It is not cancelled because you failed. Some of the strongest people you will ever meet were once lost. Some of the most powerful testimonies were built from broken beginnings. When you turn back to God, your past stops being a life sentence and starts becoming a lesson. Every mistake teaches you discernment. Every heartbreak teaches you wisdom. Every wrong turn teaches you direction. Nothing is wasted in the hands of God. The years you think you lost can become the foundation of who you are becoming. You are not too late. You are being rebuilt. And rebuilding takes time. Do not compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 10. Focus on obedience in this moment, because this moment is where transformation begins. The fact that you are still breathing means your purpose is still active. The fact that your heart is stirring means your calling is still alive. God does not give up on unfinished stories, and you are not finished. Today can mark the page where everything begins shifting, not because life becomes perfect overnight, but because you chose to return. And when you return, direction replaces confusion, strength replaces weakness, hope replaces regret. Your story continues, and the next chapters can be stronger than the ones before. If you choose to turn back today, this is your turning point. There are moments in life that look ordinary on the outside, but in the spiritual realm, they are monumental. This could be that moment for you, not because of dramatic music, not because of emotion, not because of fear, but because something inside you is shifting. You feel it, that tension in your chest, that conviction in your thoughts, that quiet realization that you cannot keep living the same way and expect a different outcome. This is not pressure. This is awakening. For so long you adapted to cycles. You normalized inconsistency. You made peace with habits that slowly drained you. But deep down you always knew you were meant for more. More discipline, more purpose, more peace, more alignment. And the only thing separating you from that more is decision. Not talent, not intelligence, not background. Decision. Turning back to God is not dramatic fireworks. It is a quiet but powerful internal shift that says, I choose alignment over impulse. I choose obedience over ego. I choose long-term peace over temporary pleasure. And when that decision becomes real, heaven responds. Strength you didn't know you had begins rising. Clarity you've been praying for starts forming. Courage to walk away from what once controlled you becomes possible, because surrender activates support. You stop fighting alone. You stop carrying burdens by yourself. You stop pretending you have everything under control. And in that surrender, something beautiful happens. You breathe differently, not because all problems disappear, but because you are no longer disconnected. You begin to see your life through a different lens. Every challenge becomes an opportunity for growth. Every delay becomes preparation. Every test becomes refinement. You realize that your past was not the end of your story. It was training. Training for wisdom. Training for discernment. Training for leadership in your own life. And now you stand at a crossroads. Continue the same cycles, or step into alignment. Continue postponing peace, or choose it today. You don't need applause. You don't need validation. You don't need perfect conditions. You just need a sincere heart. And sincerity moves heaven. This is your turning point. Not because someone forced you, but because you finally decided you're done running. Everything can change today. Listen carefully before this ends. Nothing changes if nothing changes, but everything can change if you turn back to God, fully, sincerely, consistently. Not just when you're scared, not just when you're desperate, not just when life feels heavy, but daily. The change may start small. A new habit, a new prayer, a new boundary, a new mindset. But small shifts create massive transformation over time. 1 degree of direction can determine an entirely different destination. Right now, you are 1 decision away from a different trajectory. 1 surrender away from deeper peace. 1 step away from restored clarity. 1 honest prayer away from renewed strength. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to say, God, I'm coming back. And mean it. Not perfectly, but genuinely. Because God does not require perfection. He responds to humility. Imagine yourself months from now, stronger, clearer, more disciplined, more peaceful, because you made a decision today. Imagine looking back at this exact moment and realizing this was the day everything began shifting. The day confusion started losing control. The day anxiety stopped dominating. The day purpose became clearer. Everything can change today, not because of magic, not because of luck, but because alignment unlocks transformation. And transformation begins with surrender. So before this video ends, make it real. Close your eyes if you need to. Take a deep breath. Be honest and choose. Choose discipline over distraction. Choose faith over fear. Choose surrender over stubbornness. Choose God over ego. Because when you turn back, truly turn back, your direction changes. Your mindset changes. Your habits change. Your future changes. Everything begins changing. Today can be the day your story pivots. Today can be the day peace returns. Today can be the day you stop running. Everything can change today. If you turn back to God,